Namaste and very welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching the Himalaya Talk Show and it's me, your host Vishan Neupane. Ladies and gentlemen, after getting the poll result in 2022 United States midterm election in the state of Texas, Republicans once again won the statewide seats that includes Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who is looking forward to serve his third term as Texas Governor. And let me tell you this, the governor's race is one of the most polarizing races in the Texas history. Texas political history, I mean. After the election, we have 86 Republicans and 64 Democrats in the Texas House. And our guest today is one of them, who is also very close to the Nepali community. And today we'll be trying to explore her experience and how she has gotten support from the diverse community. And she is none other than Texas House Representative Terry Meza. She is an American politician and attorney serving as a member of the Texas House of Representatives from the District 105. She got re-elected in the 2022 midterm election for the same position. In 2019 legislative session, Rep. Meza served on the Public Education, Human Service and Resolution Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome House of Rep. Terry Meza. Representative Terry, welcome to the Himalaya Talk. So it is our very pleasure to have you here this afternoon. And very congratulations for getting re-elected as Texas House of Representative from District 105. Anything changed in past couple of days after getting re-elected in the Texas House of Rep?
Has anything changed?
Yeah.
As in what's going to happen in the next legislative session? We are going to be returning to a Republican-dominated legislature, which means those of us who have different points of view will have a tough time on our hands in defeating policies that they favor that we do not, like taking money away from public school education, among other things.
Okay. There are a couple of my viewers who are really interested to know, okay, we supported Terry, right? As a community, we all supported you. And what is her actual job, right? Can you please tell me more about what exactly you do?
Okay. Well, during the legislative session, of course, we're in the Capitol building in the legislature. And so we're busy filing bills, voting on bills, and in between the filing and the voting are all the committee hearings. I sit on committees and hear bills, but I also have to take my own bills before other committees and lay them out before those committees and hope to get their support. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when a bill is filed, it gets assigned to a committee, but that doesn't guarantee that it's going to get heard. Not all bills that filed get heard by the committee, and the committee chair is all powerful in whether or not a bill gets heard. Not even the committee themselves know what bills are being chosen. Well, they know what bills are being chosen because they're hearing them, but what bills are not being chosen. So the battle becomes, after you file a bill, is to try to get it heard in committee. So we are working on all that, which will include some bills that were requested from the Nepali community. So we'll be working to try to make sure that those bills get heard. And then they have to get voted out of committee. Once they're voted out of committee, then the battle becomes getting it on the agenda on the House floor, because there's still another committee to go through that decides whether or not a bill makes it to the House floor. So those are some of the things that we work on during legislative session, which runs just from January through May. When I'm in other states with other state legislators, they're shocked to learn how rarely the Texas State Legislature meets, because that January through May is not even yearly, it's every other year. So for those that meet all year long, or those other state legislators who meet every year, they're shocked at how little the Texas State Legislature meets. So I jokingly tell them, with also some touch of seriousness, that in Texas they believe they're safer when the legislature is not in session. So in between times, what do? We have a district office in Irving on O'Connor Road, and I have a staff there. We receive calls and emails from people with issues that they have, and we deal with all of them, but particularly with state agencies. We have ombudsmen with all the different agencies. So like, for example, during the pandemic, when some people had trouble getting their unemployment checks, then we have an ombudsman with the Texas Workforce Commission when we contact them and say, BN has a problem. I'm just going to use somebody. BN has a problem in getting his unemployment check, and then by putting it to our ombudsman, it kicks it up to a higher level. They're at the top of the list, and so a lot of people were very thankful that they were able to get their checks after having a very difficult time, as you might have heard on the news, in getting through the Texas Workforce Commission. Right. So that's just one example. But so we do a lot of visiting the community when we're invited to things, and like Veterans Day celebration yesterday, and working in the district office, attending to our constituents' needs and providing services to them.
You just mentioned the bills for Nepalese community. So do you have anything that you want to present? Right, what bills for Nepalese community? Is there any concrete thing that you would like to share? I would love to hear that.
Okay. Well, a couple of years ago, the first time I had my conversation with the president of the Nepalese Society of Texas, and we talked about licenses. At that time, we also talked about licenses for manicure, pedicure type licenses. That hasn't come up again recently, but more importantly, that affects everybody, is a driver's license, and how helpful it would be to have the driver's license in the Nepalese language. And of course, we want everybody who drives to be licensed, and because that means that they took a test and they passed it and they know the laws. And so if we had it in the Nepalese language, then that would be helpful to a lot of people to be able to study the test, take the test, pass it, and get their license. So we're going to work toward that. As you may know, we do have license available in another language, but it's Spanish, because Spanish is so dominant as a second language in Texas. And so we'll work toward showing to them how large the Nepalese community is and its representation in the state of Texas, not just here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but in other, especially urban areas, that there are sizable Nepalese communities. And so that size of the Nepalese community and the growth of the Nepalese community in Texas, we're going to try to demonstrate to the legislature that that means that they deserve to have a test in their language.
In 2015, a group of Nepalese community leaders went to state capital Austin, and I'm glad you're aware of it, and with issue of not having Nepali translation of Texas rules of road and safety and the driver license test in Nepali language. So you already served for past 4 years, so what were the steps that you have taken from your side just to be heard in the state?
Steps to be heard?
Yeah, so what have you done, what were the process in between just to present that bill? Because you already served for 4 years, right? So were there like series of conversation between the concerned parties and Nepalese community?
Well, obviously if we're still working on it, we haven't passed it as a bill yet. Response I got was from the DPS, the Department of Public Safety, and the Department of Motor Vehicles with their response to it, and that's as much attention as it's gotten, which is helpful at least for the agencies that are related to it to be aware of what we're doing and to respond on how they feel about it. So it's also anybody who knows in sales, and sometimes passing a bill involves a little salesmanship, it's important to know what the objections are to it. If you don't know what someone's objection is, so something, you can't overcome their objections. So
right,
that's what we've worked on so far.
What are the major things that you have done in past 4 years for your tenure for those minority group of people? Because I know your main slogan for your campaign was, we should be building bridges, not walls. So what are the things that you have done for the minorities group of community, including Nepalese, South Asian community, and other minorities group of people?
Yeah. Well, thanks to the Nepalese community here in our area, I've seemed to be an adoptee in Austin.
I know, right?
The Greater Austin Nepalese Society, GANS, invites me to their events. And most recently, in this past year, we went to Hutto, H-U-T-T-O.
As a groundbreaking
for the
ceremony. I think we met there too.
The groundbreaking ceremony, so that was very special.
Right.
I have Nepalese caps and scarves and a Buddha stupa in my capital office, so that way when Nepalese come and visit the capital office, they'll feel very welcome because they see things related to their community. I first became friends with the Nepalese community through my membership with the Lions Club. So even before I was ever a state rep, I was friends with the Nepalese community. So we were at a Lions Club district meeting in April, the year of the earthquake, when, as the president of my Lions Club, we donated toward the effort for the earthquake. So as I've said before, I grieved with the Nepalese community over the earthquake, danced with the women during Tej, and attended lots of different celebrations. But in addition, I have a sizable Muslim community in my district, and I attend their events. There was a bill that we had to have Eid as a state holiday for state employees, and it passed in the House but didn't pass in the Senate. For the Bangladeshi community, we had special day that was, instead of having it more as a Bangladeshi day, we had it as a UN Mother Language Day, because the United Nations actually has that, a Mother Language Day, recognizing people's right to speak their mother language. And of course that was particularly important to the Bangladesh from their days when they were not called Bangladesh, but they were called West Pakistan. No, excuse me, they were East Pakistan.
East Pakistan.
West Pakistan is now just Pakistan. But that the minority, but maybe more powerful, West Pakistanis wanted to force their language on the Bangladeshis, and there were people that died for the right to speak their native language, which was something I could relate to, because as a child, during the same time that this was going on, because I'm that old, and during the same time that this was going on in Bangladesh, as a child in Texas, we were punished in school if we spoke Spanish in the classroom. So there was an effort right here in Texas to take away our native language. And your language is very important to you. Of course it's important for those of us who are immigrants to the United States to learn English. But it's also important to us who come from other cultures to maintain our language of our parents and grandparents. And language is the key to a culture, so I really do believe in the importance and the value of maintaining your native language or mother language. It doesn't make you less American, it just means you appreciate your culture. You can be Nepalese and American too. You can be proud of being Hispanic and being American too. So we had a Bangladeshi Day. So I'm looking forward to working together with the Nepali community in the next legislative session to have a Nepali Day. And I've asked if there's any particular day during the spring months when we meet that's a special day to the Nepalis, whether it's an Independence Day or any other kind of day. But we'll think of something, and we're going to have a Nepali Day in the next legislative session. And celebrate.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. With saying that, we had a great Hindu festival, Diwali. I have seen President Biden and his fellow friends lighting diya in White House, so that's very grateful for all Hindu followers. And with saying that, the significant numbers are in the state of Texas as well. So is it possible from your level to advocate for the public holiday for the Hindu festival Dasai and Diwali? What are your opinions on it?
Yes, I think that's possible. I got to attend not only some Diwali celebrations here in Irving, but also in Grand Prairie they had a special program, a guru. It was very important, and so that was a big celebration that went on for 4 hours with a lot of singing and dancing and messaging about faith and humility. That was sponsored by BAPS, which is a different part of Hindu faith. Also in the legislative session, it's come up once before under the topic of fireworks of all things, because we legislate certain times when fireworks can be sold, and so to expand it, fireworks sales to include the time during Diwali. Diwali's sometimes it's called Deepavali.
Deepavali. Yeah. Deepavali is kind of Nepali version of Diwali. It's the same culture, same festival. That's the way we celebrate the same, but it's kind of just a language.
Yes, I know. So sometimes I see it D-I-W as Diwali, and sometimes I saw it as Diwali, and that's just because I have friends from all different cultures on my Facebook. But so we did pass a law in the House. I don't know how it did in the Senate. I remember passing it in the House to extend the dates when fireworks sales were allowed in the state of Texas to include that holiday, but certainly we can do something about it as a state holiday.
Right. And
for state employees.
Also for my viewers, like Texas has the US second largest Indian community. There are more than 452,000 Indian American according to the data of the US Census Bureau, and around 100,000 Nepalese American in the state of Texas. So they would be really happy if we get a public holiday in our Diwali, Dasera and whatnot. Coming to another topic.
Now Diwali goes over several days though. Not necessarily just one day, right? Isn't it like a 4 or 5 day celebration?
Yeah, it is, but I think for now, with not having a single day, we'll be more than happy to have one day.
Be happy with one day?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. Representative Prairie, let me change the topic a little bit. Okay. As all of you know, abortion is banned in Texas, and majority of Democrats are not very happy with it. Do you have any plans to authorizing any bills to overrun the abortion ban in Texas? Even Democratic Party has had not enough vote in the Texas House right now.
I don't know if there's another legislator who plans to file a bill. Of course, it would be a bill that would not pass because we don't have the votes in the legislature to pass anything like that. What I do see some opening or hopes for, which is probably not enough, but the best that we can hope for in the state legislature next session, is all those exceptions that people are upset about, and they've gotten so much pushback about the bill with the total ban, with no exceptions, that I think the Republicans are open to, and that's what we'll be working on them about, is to have an amendment change to the bill that they passed with the total ban to allow for exceptions in the cases of rape, incest, and the mother's health.
Okay. Also saying that there are a lot of Asian hate crimes going these days. I think you probably heard of it a lot. This August only, the Justice Department announced that 21 years old Jose Gomez from Midland, Texas was sentenced to 25 years in prison on hate crime charge for attacking an Asian family he believed was Chinese and therefore responsible for COVID-19 pandemic. This is just an example. There are a lot of hate crimes going around. So what will be your voice on it?
Well, we already have a bill about hate crimes that elevates it to a higher offense. So whatever someone does, if it's considered a hate crime, it moves it up to being a higher level of offense. So just needs to be enforced as far as the law, but also just education for people to understand. I mean, there were Hindus, I think, that were attacked because people thought they were Muslims. Americans aren't very good at telling one immigrant group from another. So that's not unusual. I'm not really surprised that someone attacked someone from one Asian group because they thought they were another Asian group, because they attacked, as I said, Hindus thinking that they were Muslims or something. So just the education of people to understand that what's done by one person does not, the whole community does not take the blame. It doesn't happen that way with the majority community. If one Anglo is what we call white person, Anglo, if one Anglo commits a crime, it's not an indictment on their entire group. But as you may have noticed, if anybody in an immigrant community does a crime, then it's kind of like an indictment on the entire community. Or even if they didn't do a crime, if it's just something like a pandemic or immigration or something else, then it's an indictment on the entire community. So that's wrong.
In that case, we need more security, right? Also, Republicans are saying like Democrats are very eager to defund the police. So is there any truth on it?
No, I think that was a slogan in some of the protests back during the George Floyd protests, that was a slogan by some people. I haven't ever heard it adopted by any Democratic representative or elected official. What many people feel like needs to be done regarding the police department is a reimagination of the police, what the police role is, especially in different situations. So some people don't like the militarization of the police. I'm one of those that not really in favor of the police being given military equipment, which has been a popular thing to do after the closing downs of some of the wars. They had all this extra equipment and they'd offer it to police departments. So police got helicopters, which is fine. The police need helicopters to fly over areas, either for traffic accidents or hunting someone or something. Helicopters, but then you get into things like tanks and other kinds of weapons that are military weapons that not really appropriate. There are countries where their police are very militaristic, but I don't like that in those countries. I'm glad that our police in our country have not been so militarized. So maybe dialing back a little bit on the militarization of the police. And the other thing is when there's a response to mental health crises. Our police are really not prepared to deal with mental health crises. That's not what they're trained to do. So when they go out, they have one tool, and that is they have their taser and their gun. So too often mental health crises calls end in the death of the person who's going through the mental health crises. So I'm proud to say, because I've met with both our police departments, because through December of this year I still represent both Irving and Grand Prairie. Going into next year I'll represent Irving only. But I met with both the police chiefs of Irving and Grand Prairie to talk to them about what the Black Legislative Caucus came forward with after the George Floyd, called the George Floyd Act, after the death of George Floyd. All the different, like for example, one of the reforms was the chokehold, banning the chokeholds. They didn't have any problem with that because they said we already banned chokeholds. We don't allow choking. So we have very good police departments in that way. But we still that they already instituted all those reforms way before the bill was introduced. So they had no problem. I said, if I vote for these, you have no problem as a police department. They said no. They had no problems with the reforms that were being recommended.
We are coming to the end of the program, so since you are very close to Nepali community, there is no doubt, right? What do you think about Nepal and America relation in a country level?
Well, not being in Congress, in the United States Congress in Washington, D.C., I don't know that much about the Nepalese.
I'm just asking, as a citizen of Texas and a rep for representing a lot of Nepalese American residing in Irving and Grand Prairie community, so what do you think from your level?
I thought we had a good relationship. If we don't, then you will need to educate me on that.
All right. Since I'm from Nepali community, it is very obvious, I guess, to ask this question. What Nepalese community can expect from coming 2 years?
The coming 2 years? Well, we'll work on the legislation that we talked about, which included the driver's license, having a special Nepali Day celebration, and there are some other issues too that we're going to be working on.
Actually, how can we contribute as a, for example, I know there is the advocacy going on a separate level, right? But there are a lot of Nepalese group of people who really do not know about it and they really want to participate on it. How can they participate?
The Nepalese community can participate by contacting our district office. I have staff there that answer phones that now through December, if they have any concerns or issues they're especially concerned about that they want to share with us. And then once our district office will close at the end of the year, and we'll shift all our efforts toward the Capitol. And of course that's a little bit further away, but people are welcome to come and visit us in the Capitol. It's about a 3-hour drive, nice road trip. And we hope that people will especially feel welcome when we choose a Nepali Day to celebrate. We'll do that on the House floor, and the Nepalese leaders can come forward because you can only put about 4 or 5 on the podium at the speaker's podium. But up in the gallery, which is what we call our balcony, up in the balcony, the rest of the Nepalese community will be able to be there, and we can recognize them, and they can all stand, and we can ask the Nepalese who are there that did advocate about these bills. They can go visit their state reps, because I'm not everybody's state rep. So they can visit their state reps, whether it's Salman Bujani here or someone from Houston or Austin area. They can visit their state reps and help advocate for the bills that I'll be filing on behalf of the Nepalese community to tell them, their state reps, why they want to see them passed. So we can have not only a big day of celebrating the Nepalese community and its culture, but we can also have an advocacy day in which people go around and visit their state reps in the Capitol and say, hey, we have these bills that are important to the Nepalese community, and we hope that you'll vote for them and support Representative Meza with the bill.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Terry, for your valuable time. It was such a pleasure for us to have you in our show. At last but not the least, do you have anything to say to my viewers?
Well, it's always a pleasure to be with the Nepalese community. Thank you.